So do you have...
So let me mute everybody and then go ahead, Ashutosh.
So how many Mahavakyams are there, and is there a list that we can, and what is their source? Like, is there a list?
Yeah. So typically we talk about 4 Mahavakyas.
Okay.
So Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma is one. Tattvamasi is one. Prajnanam Brahma. And then Ayam Atma Brahma.
Aham Brahmasmi.
Aham Brahmasmi is also Mahavakya.
Aham Brahmasmi. So Aham Brahmasmi, I don't know where it comes. Tattvamasi, Chandogya Upanishad. So there, Shvetaketu, Uddalaka is a teacher, right? And then Shvetaketu is a student. And so there he says at one point, and he gives the example of this clay and pot. And he says, therefore Tattvamasi. Just after some explanation, he tells that. So Tattvamasi, Prajnanam Brahma, Ayamatma Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi.
Tattvamasi.
Tattvamasi, of course. So these are all coming in different Upanishads.
Okay.
So right now I don't remember offhand, but we can.
So these are only related to Vedanta, but they are not really like Shakta, or if you think about Bhakti Yoga, they are not really. So they are coming from Upanishads. Are they Vedanta specific or are they general?
Yeah, so these statements have a particular purpose, and you take Aham Brahmasmi. Aham means I. Brahma is Jagat Karanam. Jagat Karanam Brahma. The cause of this world is Brahma. Therefore, Aham Brahmasmi means what? I am the cause of this world. Okay. So when we say that, there is an intention the Shastram has to unfold the non-difference that is there between what I think of myself as and what I think of the world as. So it is a Vedantic statement, no doubt. And bhakti, etc. is also very important. Because bhakti is what? What is bhakti? Bhakti is the relationship one has with Ishvara. That is bhakti. It is an attitude, it's an emotion. It is what connects us with Ishvara. So bhakti is important. And we do need to develop the bhakti. But the statement is not a statement of bhakti. Correct? The statement, it's an equation. It's just an equation. We can say it is a mathematical equation. That's what it is. So therefore, it comes in Vedanta. And many people talk about it. And they might interpret it differently also.
Right.
And so those interpretations are there. So any interpretation of this equation can be what? You are the whole, Vedanta says. Any other interpretation, let's call this interpretation for now. Any other interpretation will be what? You are not the whole. Correct?
Yeah.
You're not the whole. Either you are the whole or you're not the whole. These are the only two possibilities.
Right.
You are not the whole seems to make a lot of sense. Why? Because I am the whole means what? What are you talking about? I am the whole. It doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense. You are the whole and you are part of the whole. All these statements make fantastic sense. You are part of Ishvara. Ishvara protects you by keeping you in his bosom. Arey Bapre, that sounds so good. That's what I need. And nothing wrong with that. But that is the interpretation. If you're not the whole, means you're part of the whole, you're a very small part of the whole, etc. All these are very appealing. And so there is all those interpretations. And Vedanta refers specifically to you are the whole interpretation of Tattvamasi.
Right.
So when you take the you to be this body, then all other interpretation makes a lot of sense. When you take the you to be the water, not the wave, then Vedanta comes to us. Correct?
Right.
You don't say the body is a whole. Body is a whole is a ridiculous idea. Body is limited. But the Satyam of the body, if you recognize, then that is Tvam, and Tat also, the Satyam of the world also has to be the same Satyam, and those two are identical. That is what makes this journey very fascinating.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Question.
Prasad, go ahead.
So last class, actually, we stopped saying the last question. Atman is consciousness. So due to time, I didn't proceed on that. So today, my question is this. So yeah, I understand Atman is consciousness, which is Brahman, which is Sakshi. That's one definition. But I'm looking at the other definition, trying to clarify myself. So the nature of Atma, just like ice is cold, right? So if I consider the nature of Atma is consciousness, because through its illumination we are able to see, feel the experiences. In all three states of experiences, it is through illumination of that Atma, through consciousness, which means that it is the nature of Atma. So I'm saying like it is basically, can I consider nature of Atma is consciousness, rather than saying consciousness equal to Atma?
Yeah. So this is why using the word the nature of also has a little problem. Because when we say nature of, we are attributing a quality. Suppose I tell you, have you had a fruit? Have you had papaya? Do you know what papaya is? Somebody says, no, what is papaya? And you had mango, apple, everything you've had. Then we have to say something. Papaya is of the nature of mango, but it is much bigger and there is a big hollow. It doesn't have a seed. Where imagine a seed, but now take the seed out, that there is a hollow. Like this, we can say, right? And then we can describe this papaya. So there, this of the nature of and all helps. So really speaking, we have to just stick with Swarupa. This is why, this is exactly, you brought your question, brings up the limitation of using translations. So, number one. Consciousness is appreciable by us. Correct? We have an idea. We can appreciate consciousness. Everything we said about consciousness, we can appreciate. So we have to use consciousness to explain Atma. Okay. We have to use what we know to explain what we don't know. Correct? So we say Chit Swarupaha. Atma Chit Swarupaha. So Atma is so difficult to use English words here. Now if I use some words, then you will ask me, what does that mean? You will say. So I will have to go back and say Atma is Chit Swarupaha. Chit Swarupaha. So because fortunately, this Satyam that we are talking about is Atma, and it is, Atma means me, and therefore it has something to do with me. It is not like heaven, which is so far away that I have to start visualizing. And so by saying Atma and Chit, it relieves me of the burden of having to visualize things. Okay, that is what we are trying to go after. That's what we are trying to go after. So that is one point. Another point I will tell you. The Sat, Chit and Ananda. See, often when we describe an object, okay, let's take this papaya example itself. We describe an object. How do you describe papaya? Define papaya. If somebody says, how will you describe Prasadji? How will you describe? Suppose somebody, your daughter is asking, papayas are not available in America, and so she is asking, Daddy, you're talking about papaya and all that all the time. You go to India and you have papaya. What is this? You tell us. How will you define? You have to say what? You have to say it is a fruit. Correct? You have to say it is a fruit. Why do you have to say? Because that's what it is. And when you say fruit, immediately you have eliminated so many options. What options you have eliminated? It is not a vegetable. It is not something that is made in a company like at iPhone. It is not a chair. It is not table. It is not available in your home. It's so many things you have eliminated and you have brought it down to a fruit. But there are so many different fruits. So you must add something else now. Correct? You must add something else. You must say it is a fruit. I mean, this is actually a difficult problem because now how to define papaya we have not learned. So I have to now invent something. It is a fruit and it grows in tropical countries like India. So that means now you are limiting the geography of this fruit. And okay, it grows in some other places, Hawaii and all maybe. So a tropical country, you just bring that. It won't grow in cold countries. Okay, bring that. And then you can add maybe it is of the family of, okay, if there was something like that, we can say it is of this family. We limit it even further. Like that, you have to use these qualifying words to bring the attention down to a particular fruit. Correct? This Satchidananda is not of that type. It is not like there are so many Atmas and you are pointing into one particular Atma in one particular part of the world, like the papaya fruit. It is not like papaya has to grow in a particular type of climate and so you have to limit that climate. Those are not, such Chit and Ananda are not those kind of words. So when we get some chance, we will talk about it. Very interesting subject. And so these are not, in other words, these are not adjectives. To define a papaya, you're using adjectives, right? You're saying it's a fruit. Fruit is a noun, but it also qualifies, right? An object. Like this, you're using so many defining words which limit what that object is. And that is not the purpose served by these words Sat, Chit and Ananda. So there is a lot more to study on this topic, and as we study it, we will appreciate it more.
Jayakumar, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Harprasad.
Can you explain a little bit about the word nimitta? How does it come? What does it mean?
Good question. Various ways of saying it. That which is not a cause but appears to be a cause is nimitta. That is one definition. One way. I won't say definition. I need to look up the definition. That is one way of understanding nimitta. So we gave the example of Rasgulla. Rasgulla makes me happy. If I say, I am making a bold statement that the cause of my happiness is Rasgulla. Now, it is a false statement, because if Rasgulla has the property of creating happiness, then everybody should run after Rasgulla. Rasgulla has many properties. It can be white in color. Let's say it is spongy, and then etc. We can give all these qualities. It is not katha. It is sweet. All these qualities we can give. But when I say Rasgulla makes me happy, we say, hey, Rasgulla doesn't have the ability to make anybody happy. But if you still say it makes you happy, we say Rasgulla is a nimittam. Nimittam means what? Something comes and it appears to make me happy when I consume it. So we say Rasgulla is nimittam. Okay. Another example I will give. Krishna tells Arjuna, Nimitta matram bhava. Correct? Nimitta matram bhava. Savyasachin. He uses a beautiful word, Savyasachin. Like that he says. Nimitta matram bhava means what? Be a nimittam alone, he says. Such a beautiful word. So now what is Krishna trying to tell Arjuna? We have to now interpret now. Because now interpretation, right? We have to now interpret it based on what Krishna has said before and what Krishna is going to say afterwards, and based on the message of Krishna's teachings. So nimitta matram means what? This Atma is akarta. I'm teaching you about Atma, which is not a doer, which cannot have ownership, which cannot be subject to any sorrow, any happiness or sorrow, this up and down experiences, cannot be subject to guilt or hurt. So that Atma you are, and therefore Krishna says, Nimitta matram bhava means what? You are about to fight a war. Don't take the authorship of this fight too seriously. You are there in a position where you are supposed to do this particular act of fighting. It is a duty. It is really your duty. You must do this. And it's actually a duty that is making you do. In fact, you are not the author of this fight. Now, hanyate anyamane sharire. You cannot kill anybody, neither can anybody kill you. This is the language he's talking. Kya baat hai? How in a war, how can, and Krishna is making this statement in a war. You don't kill anybody, he says. Yet you must go and fight. Yeah, how can I fight without hurting people? No, you don't kill anybody, Krishna says. Neither can anybody kill you. Therefore, nimitta matram bhava. Okay, you have to understand the statement I'm making. But until then, nimitta matram bhava. Correct? Means you are an instrument. Sometimes they use the word instrument. They say you are an instrument in the hands of Bhagavan. Beautiful. Very beautiful. That attitude is so nice. Because that is the truth is things are happening through me. That is the meaning. Things are happening through me. That's a fantastic attitude to have. Because that suddenly opens up this vision for me. So there also nimittam can be used or is used by Krishna for Arjuna. Nimitta matram bhava. Consider yourself to be an instrument, not an author. That is the meaning. Not an author. Only if you are an author, you have the responsibility is so huge. Now, even considering as nimitta, you must be responsible, no doubt. You can't be irresponsible. But you don't take on the problems that don't belong to you. That is the meaning. Things happen through you. So that's another Prasad. That's another context where we use the word nimitta. Okay. Yeah, I can't hear you. You're muted, I think.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Okay, so it's 7:56 here, so we'll stop with that. So far, everything going well?